Hey everyone, it's Paige. Welcome back to my channel. I have officially finished my first full year of teaching, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of uploading and filming and everything. Thank you so much to everyone who reached out and checked on me. I know I've been away longer than I've ever been away before. I'll do like a little life update at the end of this video, but for now, I just want to talk about the books that I've read recently. I haven't been the best reader lately, but since the time that I updated you last, I've read 11 books. So this first series that I'm going to tell you about is actually another TikTok recommendation. If you're new here, I am a big fan of the horror and thriller genres. I love that genre, whether it's on film or in books, but I'm also like a really big fan of romance. So I really like when those two genres are mixed together in interesting ways. And I got this recommendation from TikTok. It is called the Mindf, I'm censoring myself, series by St. Abby. Yes, that spells out stabby. It is a pseudonym. There are 5 books in this series. I'm not sure if they're like novellas or anything, but these are the 5 that I read. And it's basically a series that follows a female serial killer who falls in love with a detective. I've always been a really big Dexter fan. I haven't started the new revival of the series. Let me know if you have and whether you like it, but I always really liked Dexter. I also liked the idea that this protagonist, this female serial killer, is not just someone who enjoys killing, but is someone who is sort of on a quest for revenge. I blew through these books. They're very, very short. I mean, it's ridiculous, and I don't see anything like this really happening in real life. I think that's just part of its charm. So if you want to breeze through a series and just have a good time and you like things like Dexter, I would give this series a shot. But after I finished that series, I finished a book that I was reading for school, and that was Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I had not read this book obviously beforehand, and my students were assigned this book for 10th grade English literature. The only thing I will say is that reading this book after reading The Troop by Nick Cutter was a little bit disorienting, because if you know anything about The Troop, it's basically like Lord of the Flies but extremely gruesome. So I couldn't stop thinking about those really disturbing scenes while I was reading Lord of the Flies. This is a piece of classic literary fiction. It's about a group of young, elementary school aged British children who are escaping from some sort of war, and their plane crashes, so they end up stranded on this very nice, very tropical island, but there is no adult supervision, so it's up to them to build this sort of civilization and try to get themselves rescued. This book is depressing, unsurprisingly, because it is sort of an allegory that reflects human behavior during wartime, I think, which is, strongly suggested in the book because these boys are fleeing from a war only to sort of find themselves in a different type of war. I think it's a really important piece of literature, and it was probably my favorite of the class this year. So after I finished with that, I took a very long break in reading where I didn't read much of anything, but Crescent City, the second Crescent City, came out, and I had seen, not spoilers really, but that people were saying that the end of Crescent City 2 was really suggestive of the future of Sarah J. Maas books. And of course, I've been a longtime fan of Sarah J. Maas, so I had to catch up. So my friend Becky read Crescent City for the first time, and I reread it with her, because I'm not exaggerating when I say that I forgot 85% of the plot of Crescent City. I'm not sure what that says about the book or about me, but I just couldn't remember anything about what had happened. So I reread this, and then I read Crescent City 2, House of Sky and Breath. This book is almost 800 pages, but I did fly through it because we were buddy reading it, and I had fallen behind because I had gotten really sick for a couple weeks. So when I finally was able to pick this back up, I read as fast as I could, partially because I was trying to catch up with her, and partially because I really, really wanted to see the end of this book and see what everyone was talking about. And I did. I did see what everyone was talking about. I even posted about it on my Instagram story because I was so shocked at the ending. And none of us will get a conclusion to these thoughts and these feelings and these ideas for like another year until Sarah J. Maas comes out with Crescent City 3. That's the only thing about reading books pretty much as soon as they come out, because you are left unsatisfied for at least a year. If you're unfamiliar with Crescent City, it's huge on Book Talk right now, but basically all of Sarah J. Maas's books are. This is like an urban high fantasy series that follows a half-human, half-fae woman named Bryce. She works with like antiquities and selling like really high value antiques and precious items, and she ends up assisting in a murder case, sort of acting as like an assistant detective in a way. I wouldn't really recommend this series until you've read at least one of Sarah J. Maas's other series, because I feel like there's a lot of references that you miss in Crescent City if you haven't read those books. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily, they stand on their own perfectly well, but if you really want to understand the world, I feel like her other book series are a better place to get that foundation before you jump into this chaos. Okay, just two more that I want to talk about. This past weekend, I actually ended up going to New York City. I had a big plan to record that trip, and honestly, the city was just so busy that I couldn't even find time to film. I didn't end up going to anything bookish anyway. I actually mostly spent the time in Chinatown going to different like food places, so I actually posted a couple pictures of that on my Instagram. But on the way to New York City and surrounding areas, we ended up listening to an audiobook, and that was Evidence of the Affair by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've already read at least 2 of her books, and I know that I like her writing. I haven't been disappointed with anything I've read of hers. So when I found this audiobook that was like a little over an hour long, I was like, this is perfect. This book is basically a collection of letters that are sent between 2 married couples. One person from each marriage is having an affair with each other. So like basically the wife of the man who's having the affair sends the first letter to the husband of the woman who's having the affair with her husband. Sorry, that was the worst way to explain that, but that's how correspondence starts to ensue. Highly recommend this for any occasion really, because it's so short, but it's perfect for a road trip because, I mean, it's got a full cast. You have 4 different narrators for each character, and it keeps you on your toes. It's fun, it's quick, and it's just really well done. I felt like the ending was absolutely perfect. It was definitely bittersweet, but it was so well done that I could live with the heartache. And then after that, I finished the audiobook of The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. This was another book that my kids were reading, but for my other class. I had always wanted to read this book anyway, and I had read bits here and there, so I finally decided to commit and read the whole thing. I'm glad that I went with the audiobook because it's a really good cast. You have a narrator for Daniel and a narrator for Natasha, and then you have a third-person narrator who does the in-between chapters. This story follows a teenage boy named Daniel and a teenage girl named Natasha. In one day in New York, it is the day that Natasha is being deported with her family to Jamaica. And it is the same day that Daniel is going for his interview for Yale. So Natasha and Daniel get to spend this one singular day together. Daniel's goal is to make her fall in love with him. I really, really liked this book, I think, because it's more than just a young adult fiction novel. This book is universally important. It has a very important message. I would recommend this to anyone who has even the slightest interest in New York City, in immigration issues, in Korean or Jamaican culture. This is just a wonderful little novel with great characterization, a great setting, and a great everything. Anyway, that is the end of the books that I've read since we last talked, which has been about a month at this point. And so here comes the point where I just talk briefly about what I've been up to. So as I said at the beginning of the video, I finally finished the school year. It was a very busy school year because, like I said, it was my first, and I also work a second job. So I've had a bit of a break from that second job since the semester ended, because that is at a college. So that's been nice, but I've fallen behind this past couple of months because we went on two weekend trips, and then I got really sick for like a couple weeks, so I was on antibiotics for a bit, and I just like wasn't feeling like myself. Wasn't feeling good either, so I just wasn't in the mindset to film or even read really, because it came with like pretty intense migraines. And apart from that, once you spend a certain amount of time away from filming, it gets harder to come back to it because it feels so difficult and so awkward. Like usually I have Troy sitting in that chair over there because he usually just sticks around in here and plays like a game or something, but I knew that it had been so long since I filmed a video that I just wanted to be alone for this one. And it kind of took me back to the first video that I ever filmed on this channel, where I couldn't even stand the thought of Troy or anyone else being in like listening vicinity. Like I couldn't stand the thought of anyone being able to hear me. This video wasn't quite as hard as the first ever video that I filmed, but it definitely reminded me of that. But also, like I said at the beginning, thank you guys for checking in on me, and thank you guys for missing my videos and staying around. If you have suggestions on videos for me to do as I get back into it, please leave them below. The hardest part about filming videos is figuring out what you're going to film. I do know that I want to do a little run of my local free little libraries soon. Rocket actually recommended that, and I really liked that recommendation, so I want to do it. And speaking of Rocket and my friend Taylor, they have both been amazing, and despite my complete absence for this past month, they have been keeping up the book club on our Discord channel called Paiging Through Club. You can join that with the link below. Rocket is currently brainstorming book options for the month of June. We're trying to find things with LGBTQ plus representation, so if you want to hop on the channel and recommend some books for the pool, please do so. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads, and now Discord. I hope you are having the best week, and I will see you back here very, very soon. Bye!